Yes, your ex is probably avoidant. Now, here's what we're going to do about it. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But first, hello, my name is Clay with modernlove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you're not. Because, of course, you deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. All right, so let's go ahead and get right on into this. I know that attachment styles are the flavor of the week right now. I know that everybody is very eager and very, very ready to diagnose their ex as avoidant, a fearful, avoidant, dismissive, avoidant, whatever, right? And that's not to say that these things aren't worth considering. But there is a huge problem with all of this, and that is, of course, starting to disregard that your ex is doing things because they're having an emotional experience, because they're feeling something, and simply just saying, like, oh, you're this alien creature called an avoidant. Therefore, you're never going to have a conversation with me about how you feel. You're never going to admit that you were wrong. You're never going to come back and initiate contact with me or something like that. We don't want to do that for the same reason that we don't want to, get in the habit of labeling people based off of, other sorts of psychological things like, oh, you're a narcissist, you have borderline personality disorder, you are depressed or something like, because it's not like you're going to interact with a depressed person as some sort of alien creature. No, you're going to say, hey, like, how are you doing? Tell me how you're feeling. And, you're going to relate to them as a human being, not as this alien thing called a depressed person. And so we want to be careful about these labels that we place on people. The other thing, too, as well, is that I was it's kind of like a little inside joke for me as well, too. Because oftentimes when people come to me asking for help, they'll make a very important distinction. They'll say, yes, my ex is an avoidant. And as if that's somehow like meaningful, because in my experience, most people's exes could be classified as an avoidant. That's to say, they exhibit a lot of the behaviors and all that. So, it's not as if it's like important, useful information to say that. And the reason why is because it is my personal belief that a lot of the behavior that people characterize as an avoidant attachment style is actually just emotional unavailability. And it's also my belief that, attachment styles are not set in stone and that we have, of course, free will. So even if somebody did have an avoidant personality, or an avoidant attachment style, it's not as if they have no choice in the matter and they just have to, not respond to your text message because they have no choice or free will or anything like that. Like, obviously, they could say, okay, I'm going to dig down deep and I'm going to, acknowledge feelings and I'm going to talk about them and I'm going to, get in there and be uncomfortable and all that sort of stuff. So the takeaway is this: people many times come to attachment theory because their relationship fell apart and they're trying to make sense of it and they're trying to understand it. And they see all these other so-called experts online that say, oh, you gotta like slice and dice them and classify them as an avoidant or a dismissive or a anxious or, whatever. And so they think, oh, well, gosh, they're not willing to talk to me about my breakup and they're not willing to talk to me about getting back together. Therefore, they have to be an avoidant. Therefore, I have to treat them like this alien creature. And like this obviously sends you on the wrong path. What you want to do instead is say, okay, maybe they are an avoidant. I don't know. Maybe they're not an avoidant, but whatever, they're responding in this way. They don't want to talk about their feelings. They don't want to talk about the breakup. They don't want to talk about us getting back together. They don't want to talk about why they won't give us another shot. Rather than rushing to label them one way or another, say, okay, well, what is it they're feeling that's probably causing them to behave in this way? Oh, well, maybe they're feeling a little bit embarrassed about what happened, or maybe they're feeling a little bit unsafe right now. Maybe they feel that, I'm trying to twist their arm into some sort of commitment or relationship that they feel unprepared for themselves, or something along those lines. And if that's the case, yeah, of course, they're going to start to behave that way. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily an avoidant person. It just means that, yeah, they might just be feeling a little bit off because of what happened between the two of you. Or, as so many people are, they could just be temporarily emotionally unavailable after a breakup because, hey, emotions are a little bit raw after a breakup. Emotions are a little bit tense. People feel a little bit exhausted emotionally from, all the crying that they do. And, regardless of the fact that they might have been the one that initiated the breakup, they are probably feeling a lot of heavy emotional feelings as the result of what's happened. And they might just be feeling emotionally exhausted as the result of that. It's important to remember. By the way, if you do like these videos that we're doing, it'd help a lot if you would ever so gently tap the thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Also, while we're here, I did want to let you know that next week we're going to be letting 10 people gain lifetime access to every course and product that Modern Love has created and also will create in the future. This is actually going to be a very important and very good offer, I think. I'll tell you more about that soon. But if you are interested in potentially being one of those 10 people or potentially winning a lifetime membership, all you have to do is go to modernlove.life/lifetime and get yourself on the interest list. We'll be announcing the winner of the lifetime membership, I think probably early next week, probably on Monday. And then, if you are interested in being one of those 10 people, just make sure that you're on that interest list. There are some huge changes coming shortly for Modern Love. And, we'd love to have you with us. And I can't tell you all about those changes, but let me just let you know that this is probably going to be one of the best deals you'll be able to get from us for quite a while. So if you are aligned with what we do, if you aren't interested in embodying our message and our philosophy and all that sort of stuff, this is probably going to be the best thing out there for you right now. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and continue on. So when it comes to this whole attachment style stuff, again, you want to take it with a grain of salt. You want to try to avoid playing armchair psychologist and saying like, oh, wow, they don't want to talk about their feelings, therefore they have to be an avoidant. Maybe, but maybe they're also just feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And also, it's important to understand too that any behavior that they might have as an avoidant isn't because they're just an alien creature called an avoidant. It's just always going to do something that makes absolutely no sense to people like you and me. They're doing it because they're feeling something. They're, just like how a narcissist isn't going to gaslight you and devalue you and all that stuff just because. They're doing it because they feel either an intense amount of shame that they're trying to avoid by trying to deny the truth or something like that, because it'd be more convenient for them to believe some other alternate, thing that happened, or because they need to feel as if they're somehow better than someone else, because otherwise it would just do too much damage to their own ego or something like that. So if you understand like why they're doing it, rather than just, oh, they're this, it's just this crazy thing that they do, you're going to get yourself a whole lot farther. That's really the whole issue with labeling. And what you want to do, even if your ex is avoidant or if they're behaving in an avoidant sort of way, is you want to really just treat them as a human being. You want to treat them with respect. Even though I'm not a huge proponent of all this attachment style stuff, I will occasionally listen to it just because it's what everyone else wants to talk about. And I'll listen to these podcasts and things like that. And what's interesting to me is that a lot of the advice is just normal stuff that I would do anyway. In fact, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and the person was like, here's how you bring up sensitive topics to an avoidant. And she prefaced all of this by saying like, hey, this isn't just stuff you would do for an avoidant. This is stuff that you'd probably do for any sensitive situation. And it's like, okay, fair enough. But why are we like pretending as if this is somehow like a magic formula for some person who has this like weird, condition or something? It's not. If you just treat people as humans, if you just meet them where they're at emotionally, and if you just are intentional and cautious about what you bring up and sensitive to it, I think you're going to do just fine. You really don't have to walk on eggshells and treat them like an alien species. You really don't. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on over into the questions. But if there is any part of you that does want to engage with us in this lifetime interest project, go ahead and sign up over at modernlove.life/lifetime. Again, you can find a link for that down below in the description box as well too. Other than that, I'd like to also invite you to go ahead and check out this video series right over here on how to get back together with your ex without using the no contact rule. This is our core strategy that we teach most people because, believe it or not, most people don't need to use no contact. Okay.